results from a shape that's like that?
Well, the shape looks like a lifting body to me. The camera actually did an experiment, and we have experimental results now that says it is. So that's the exciting part.
And what do you say to anyone who questions the idea that this information has been taken from a text that's at least 1,800 years old?
The only thing you can say is we performed a deliberate scientific experiment, and the results were that the shape made from those texts is a viable aerodynamic structure.
last Dutchman mine is believed to be on some land in the Superstition Mountains. In 1748, the land was granted to a Mexican cattle baron named Don Miguel Peralta. It is said that there was a gold mine on that property, but he rarely ever went to it.
In the 1870s, German immigrant Jacob Waltz supposedly found the location of one. It's been years filling his saddlebags with gold. Dutchman was a common American term for German in the 1800s, from the anglicized version of the German word Deutsch.
It's possible that these stones led him to find the mine, but it's also possible that he's the one that offered these to help him remember where the mine is.
A number of soldiers have mysteriously died or gone missing while hunting for this gold, and that only adds to the superstition that surrounds these places.
We continue following the information that we believe from all the stones, and we believe they lead to some of the greatest treasures this world has ever known.
The Superstition Mountains are renowned for more than just the legend of the lost Dutchman mine. Some Apaches believe a hole leading to the underworld is located there. What can our experts discover about this legendary search for treasure? Let's put them on the hunt. Archaeologist Dr. Ed Barney first deciphers what the stones say, starting with the Freezing Stone. One of the tablets has a text that in Spanish says, "Look for the man," which strikes me as a little odd, considering these tablets are supposed to be the man. On the flip side, we have what's called the horse tablet, and then there's text again in Spanish saying, "The horse of Santa Fe, I praise north of the river," which people take it to be some sort of cryptic directions to the mine. One of the troubles I have with that particular text, though, is that horse, caballo, is misspelled. Barnard adds that on the heartstone there appears to be a date, 1847. The last year Arizona was a part of Mexico. But what about the symbols on the other tablets, like the so-called trail map stone? The trail map itself seems to be kind of squiggly lines. There's no place where it begins or ends, so it's very difficult to discern how we use it as a map. So who carved these stones? Barnard says it's not likely the German prospector Waltz would have been literate in the 1800s, much less have an education to be able to write words in the languages or record it. He says the stones are leading to completely different levels of carving skill. The stones appear to be carved by two different authors. One is a much better artist than the other. NASA geologist Dr. Bob Anderson agrees there seems to be two separate artists, and he says they performed their work in different centuries.
The carvings that you see on the two sandstones, which is the map, are pretty legitimate on what you can find in the 1840s and 1850s. These rocks are scattered all over Arizona, and they were used as markers to show people where you left to go. The horse, on the other hand, and the heart appear to be totally different. That heart symbol is probably much more recent, obviously, probably in the 1940s, 1950s. These two rocks that are carved later do not belong to the same person that the first two did.
So, we're left a bit puzzled by these stones. A verdict? The trail map stone and the heart stone might be legitimate 19th century marker stones, but the heart-shaped insert and double-sided horse or priest stone are likely fakes from the 20th century. And since they're not part of the same set, it's unlikely they reveal the hidden spot of a treasure trove. 2020, Staffordshire, England. Historical researcher Andrew Baker is visiting Shudborough Hall, a centuries-old country house with numerous neoclassical monuments. But these here suggest a framed columns that sits in an enigma carved in stone. Shepherd's Bucket.
For instance, when the river Rockline frees up right along the shrubs, so it's eerie and mysterious.
Footage of the marble relief shows 4 people gathered around denomination stands for Jesus, as deity divine, which has been linked to these controversial beliefs. Many of these theories laid the groundwork for Dan Brown's wildly popular Da Vinci Code franchise. Professional scholars have dismissed many of those claims as pseudo-history. The idea of a secret society protecting the holy bloodline retains a grip on popular culture, so it's time to see if our experts can chisel out the truth. Archaeologist Dr. Ed Martian begins with the theory that George Anson collected treasures from around the world, and that the color is a big finding. But George Anson collected, in today's money, millions of dollars of wealth. But if we look at the Shuckburgh Hall property and all of these amazing monuments, it would appear that most of George's wealth went to the estate itself. If Anson spent the lion's share of his fortune, which seems to be the case since his family fell out of prominence, then maybe this isn't a literal treasure, but rather alludes to how the Ansons hid the truth about the Holy Grail as members of the Royal Society. Catholic medical researcher Michael O'Neill says the main problem with that theory is this supposed secret society didn't actually exist. In the 1950s, a Frenchman named Pierre Platard started this prayer of Zion, and he attempted to draw a connection between that secret society and the Knights Templar. Unfortunately, there was no such connection. And then in 1993, we see a raid of the apartment of Platard, where they find all his documentation and letters between Platard and his friends talking about their intentions to infiltrate this raid policy. So the proof is in the pudding. So if the Fiery Messiah and its connection to the Holy Grail is completely made up, then what does this inscription mean? It's speculative. The inscription itself is clearly the initials, the first letters of a longer statement. This D was in a typical Roman tomb that means dis minimus, which means dedicated to the venerated dead. So this may be some sort of monument dedicated to someone who's passed away. For us, many unanswered questions about this inscription remain. Our verdict is that it's a memorial dedication to someone, though we're still not really sure who. We may have to accept that the message was meant to be kept private. It may stay that way forever. It's November 2016, and Sunil Krishna is making pilgrimage to the beach village of Martian. He is there to explore the beauty and antiquity of the Vatala Temple. The temple's biggest attractions are these mysterious 56 pillars made of solid granite that somehow produce musical notes when struck. terms of historical significance. For decades, they have been the subject of numerous scientific studies, and yet they still remain an enigma. So let's see if our experts can solve this ancient riddle. We start with forensic audio analyst Dr. Rob Long, who has a theory as to how these pillars made of solid rock could make music.
The mechanics of this particular rock and the diameter of the pillars are that it's a flexural vibration, meaning that the pillar itself is moving side to side, almost like a string. And so that's the thing that's allowing it to vibrate that particular frequency.
Sound crazy? Well, you see examples of flexural vibration all the time, like altough string. Well, stop. To test his theory, Long creates a synthetic version of a flexural vibration
is a religious object.
Archaeologist Dr. Ed Barnhart says these objects have sometimes been uncovered among caches of coins, that perhaps this dodecahedron could be some form of money. It's very large and practical for a currency. There aren't many identifiable electronic symbols. If an organized civilization is going to make a currency, it's got the bust of a Roman emperor or something on it. So it may not be a type of coin, but perhaps it still had a valuable purpose. I think that it's a survey object. I think that the balls on every corner let it securely attach to basically a tripod. The locations where we find these objects are fairly neatly where the Roman Empire expanded itself by building Roman roads. If you look through the hole on one side, whatever the other side you're looking through is a different diameter else. Let's see what our experts can dig up. Archaeologist Dr. Ed Barnhart says it's unlikely this could be the ancient lost city of El Dorado, as some have speculated, since the Mexican state of Tabasco, where it's located, is not known for gold deposits. But maybe instead it has something to do with the search for liquid gold. Mexico's national landholding has been intensively worked on. So it's possible that some of those things that look ancient might be MX platform. But as he looks more closely, Barnhart recognizes the pattern of these structures as something familiar to archaeologists. This entire thing is once a big platform with buildings and probably big sculptures as well. We're talking about chairs, underground machines like cities. Anthropology can be straight points to another important clue.
Looks like mounds we already know about that are at the two other complexes that we know are associated with it. The Mayans came along later and they occupied a different place in that jungle, so we know this was exclusively woven because of Persian.
So we think it's all, we still don't know exactly what we're looking at or what purpose it serves.
It is possible that this could represent a burial ground, but burial mounds tend to be small. What this could be is a platform for religious purposes. You would have the ruler implemented and a parade going up the middle, spectators on the side.
A rendering of what this platform may have looked like demonstrates that the Olmec were likely the first Mesoamerican civilization with the engineering know-how to build such monumental stone structures.
But we won't know that information until we see what it looks like physically.
Now, of course, it's long been suggested that various Mesoamerican sites like the Nazca Mines in Peru were designed to communicate with or even guide extraterrestrial visitors. Mainstream archaeologists usually dismiss these theories, but even they remain mystified about this latest find.
Honestly, we don't know what they are. We don't know why they built this, and what they mean.
A verdict, Olmec archaeological site. What it's for and why the civilization collapsed is still unknown. We do know that the Olmec invented calendars, created a system of mathematics, and they even had 2 were one of the first animals to be tamed by humans. I guess it's no huge surprise that they've learned to walk like us. I'm just waiting for them to do my taxi. It's February 2022 outside the city of Florida in Portugal. A man who's from out of town sightseeing sets out to explore the area from a bird's eye view with his drone. His aerial video showed moving large great boulders in the clearing surrounded by trees. The stones are arranged in several rows thick and oblong bowl shape. Close As early as the 5th century BC, the Nabateans began carving elaborate multi-story building facades into the red sandstone cliff faces of Petra. But that site is in Jordan, 450 miles away